What is up, everybody? Welcome to another DSM pregame live. Tonight we have a huge matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. You have the 1 seed going against the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. I'm here with my co-hosts. Finally, we're back together for Sixers pregame. At least, obviously, we've been doing our turf talk thing of late, really focused on the Birds, but we're back here on a big night for the Sixers to talk some 76ers ball. But what is good, my man Dylan?
What's good, man? Just sharing the link out real quick for everybody on the Twitter channel.
Appreciate
because
that.
we are live strictly on the YouTube channel, as you guys should know by now, for these pregame shows. But I'm good, man. I've had, some personal stuff going on, recent birthday, Eagles Super Bowl, bye week. So, as much, I feel like the Sixers have gotten a raw deal a little bit, man. You go back a few short months ago, and it's like they're lucky that the Phillies are in the World Series, right? And making this run because they were playing so poorly. Now it's like they're unlucky that the Eagles are making this Super Bowl run because they were playing so well. Now I know they dropped 2 bad losses in their last 3 or 4 or so that we're going to get into, of course, before we get into the Celtics matchup. But overall, I mean, they've won 22 of their last 28, 27 games. So they're playing spectacular basketball at the moment. Like you said, they're 2 games out of the 1 seed behind these Boston Celtics. So they're right in the mix for that 1 seed as we head into March in a few short weeks. So I'm excited, man.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something there. We are live exclusively on DSM Media's YouTube channel. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel, of course, not only for Sixers pregame, but all of our other content that comes out daily throughout the week. Be sure to turn those notifications on. And, of course, check us out on all social media networks, especially on Twitter at DSM_media. You can find our link tree from there and get to all of our social media platforms. But nonetheless, you mentioned some things there, and I agree with you because I told you coming into this week, I was kind of gonna shy away from NBA basketball and the Sixers for the week, out of respect for the Birds. They're in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the NFL season.
Nothing else matters.
Exactly. I wanted to do that, but then you take a peek at the Sixers schedule, and it's like the NBA didn't think we were going to be in the Super Bowl, right? They thought we was going to be all eyes on the Sixers at this time because they got the Boston Celtics tonight. They go and they play the New York Knicks on Friday, who they just lost to. Right. And then they got the Brooklyn Nets on Saturday, day after the Knicks. So, nonetheless, a gauntlet through the East right now. I obviously know Kyrie was just traded, but it's still the Brooklyn Nets, still Ben Simmons. There's still drama that comes with that. But nonetheless, you just can't take your eyes off of it right now, right? It's the NBA trade deadline. It isn't working out great for content creators that dabble in both worlds. But nonetheless, I can't complain about the Eagles being in the Super Bowl, and here we are tonight. So, let's just talk a little bit about it. You mentioned how they've been playing of late. Obviously, they've been really hot since the beginning of January, towards the end of December, with that incredible record you mentioned. You look at the Sixers of late, a lot of criticism coming towards Doc Rivers, right? The rotations. And it's kind of like we've already flipped the script after that nice stretch that we did have throughout January. Where are you at with this Sixers team right now? I know you're excited, but dive into that a little bit more of exactly where you're at with Doc Rivers, the Sixers team, as we approach the trade deadline. Do they need to make improvements, so on and so forth?
I mean, I think they definitely need to make improvements, right? So tomorrow's deadline, what's it, 3 p.m., I believe, 4 p.m., whatever. There definitely needs to be a move because there's a clear weakness and a clear hole that has crept back into our lives. It feels like year after year, new team, same story, right? New backup 5, same story. So from that point of view, there's work for Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers to get done by tomorrow afternoon. But with that being said, how could you not be optimistic and positive about the Sixers team? Listen, guys, I get it. I'm not even trying to it's inexcusable to lose the way they lost to the Orlando Magic and then the way they lost to the New York Knicks. Those collapses, the 21, 22-point leads blown to both of these guys. No real RJ Barrett the other night. No Mitchell Robinson. You cannot lose that game. I'm not trying to excuse it. But what did I say to you, man? This wasn't an 8-2 stretch where they've been really good over the last 10. They've been great over the last 25 games, over a month. Doc Rivers was the Eastern Conference Coach of the Month. Joel Embiid was back-to-back Eastern Conference Player of the Month. They found them. We were sitting here like, oh, man, we might have 3 teams in their respective championships. And then 1 collapse, 2 collapse. Again, I'm not trying to defer or to excuse what Doc Rivers and his shortcomings have been, But to just be so quiet when they were flying high,
Yeah.
one collapse, and here we go again. Fire Doc, back up 5. You brought this up to me earlier, man. Like Montrezl Harrell, what happened to him? We knew he was a liability defensively, but he's not bringing much energy-wise, much offensive.
Yeah.
So it's not.
How did he look better in a starter role? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like when Embiid was out for that time, how does he look better? But now he's worse.
Fault that he's depreciated. And then what's the alternative? I'm sorry, guys.
We know what Paul Reed is now.
Alternative.
Like, he's not. He's not.
I watched Paul Reed. Like Doc was tired of Montrezl Harrell, as we all were. Like a minute and a half into his stint in the third quarter the other night.
Yeah.
Pulls him out, puts Paul Reed in. I think I texted you, dude. Like, what did I? Yeah. Paul Reed gets the ball on the block, throws a jump hook. Scotty almost off the side of the backboard. So, like, what would you prefer? Do you want the somewhat liability on defense, but can possibly give you energy in offense? Or do you want the complete liability on offense and maybe give you a spark defensively? There's no real way he can go that everyone's going to agree upon.
Yeah.
So to just look at the two collapses and say, well, classic Doc, I don't agree with it, man.
Yeah. I agree with you. And, just to your point there, if it were the playoffs, I don't think either of them would see the court, quite honestly. I think they would roll with a small ball lineup. That's how bad both of them are right now. You mentioned it, obviously the big man, the rebounding, that's what they need to improve at the deadline. I think that's a no-brainer there.
Not athletic enough.
When you look at the Sixers, it's funny you say, like, it's not like they're just 8-2 in their last 10. But they literally are 8-2 in their last 10 too. Like on top of how good they played. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's even funnier. Like they have only lost 2 games in their last 10. The 2 losses that we're focusing on.
We highlight those 2.
Exactly. That doesn't make sense, man. They're third in the Eastern Conference right now. They played some really good ball. And maybe just maybe, Dylan, last week we had a lot of news breakdown about the All-Star game. Maybe just maybe it worked in reverse. Maybe it made them not hungry or fired up. Maybe they came out and they were a little disappointed in themselves, right? Embiid didn't get starter, and Harden wasn't an all-star at all. Maybe that bothered them a little bit more than what we expected rather than firing them up. Either way, they're going to move on from it, right? It's a big game tonight, and I think this is the perfect game to turn the page. But nonetheless, I appreciate what you said there because it's just been like all season it's been like this, man, and it's just been like as soon as one loss, it's an 82-game season, one loss, and it's fire Doc Rivers. One time where the bench doesn't show up,
right?
And now that's Doc Rivers' fault. The bench has just been playing really well, and he trusted them, and they failed. Right?
Was it the Knicks? Was it the Knicks collapse or the first Magic collapse where Tyrese Maxey was horrifying off the bench? Turnover.
It was the Orlando. I think it was the Orlando game.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, listen. It's obviously within the fashion that they lost those 2 games. That's why those are highlighted so much.
Yeah.
But like I told you in the beginning of the season, if you're going to criticize Doc Rivers because of his rotation, because of 20-point collapses here and there, just don't watch any game until the postseason because that's all we're all looking forward to. We're not going to have an answer on Doc's flaws or logic until we get into those 7-game series, right? So you cannot I'm not saying you can't criticize him for the losses, of course.
Yeah.
But to just be so quiet when they were 21 of 24 and then they blow a 20-point lead and it's same old Sixers. No, same old Sixers don't have a month and a half like that.
Playing some of the best basketball that we've ever seen. I mean, literally the best basketball that we've ever seen Embiid play.
Dude,
literally,
that stretch was probably the best stretch of Sixers basketball since like the 17 game win streak at the end of like the 2017 season when Embiid was out. Remember when they got the
one seed?
Ben's rookie year. No.
Oh, rookie. Oh, you said 17. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So
like when they won 16 or 17 in a row,
16 at the end of the season.
Like they've never had a stretch. Like again, like so we could sit here and bitch and moan and complain about 2 losses, or we could say, hey, this team has looked a lot different over the last month and a half, and let's just see if that collapse was a blip in the radar.
And look, just another point, just to kind of piggyback off of everything you said there. Are the Boston Celtics fans going frantic right now? Are they panicking, right? They're the number 1 seed in the East. We're the number 3 seed. Oh my God. Boston Celtics are 6-4 in their last 10, man. They're 6-4. They're not playing as good as the Sixers are. Like, they're not winning as many games as the Sixers are right now. Yet you don't hear their fans complaining. It's a little bit different, obviously. I know Boston, they've had a little bit more success, or a lot more success than the Sixers over the last few years. But nonetheless, Boston is not playing their best ball. You look at the last 5 games, Sixers are 3-2, Boston's 3-2. So these teams are coming in on the same path, right? It's a long season, and I think that gets forgotten too much. Maybe it's when we're intertwined with the NFL season where every single loss feels like it's the end of the world, but it's just not the case with NBA basketball. And I think Sixers fans need to open their eyes. We're better than that, right? Like, I know we're a little overreactionary, but
I think more so than anything with this Sixers team specifically in this city, it's just that people and these fans had their minds made up about Doc Rivers already. They have all these preconceived notions and emotions towards them, and nothing's really going to change that outside of a deep playoff run, outside of a finals appearance, most likely. And I agree with you. Like, if we get bounced in the first or second round again, see it, Doc. But to be up in arms right now is a little ridiculous for me. But I like what you said, man. The fact that the Boston Celtics, they had a huge lead out the gate in this season for the 1 seed. It's not that case. It's not the case anymore. The Sixers win tonight. They're 1 game out of the 1 seed.
Yeah, they get to close that gap. And, just I feel you so much on just like the complaining and stuff about the Sixers, man. But we'll move on here. Let's take a look at both of these teams. I'll give you a quick overview of what we're looking at in the Boston Celtics tonight. As I mentioned, they're first in the Eastern Conference, 6-4 in their last 10. I mentioned to you before the show, they are top 10 in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, and opponents' points per game. So they're a top 5 offensive team. They're a top 10 defensive team. And then they're a top 10 rebounding and assists team as well. So you can add pace into that. Injuries tonight. Last time I checked, this was on cover.com. Robert Williams III, questionable for this game. Al Horford, questionable. Luke Cornett, probable. Jaylen Brown, probable. Marcus Smart, out. And Embiid, questionable. I would imagine Embiid's going to play tonight.
Yeah. It's easy game time decision every night now, it feels like.
Of course. I'm not sure. I'll have to check out the injury report updated just to see if any of those guys are out. But just to give a good overview, what you're looking at against the Boston Celtics tonight. Yeah. Let's get into some keys to victory here for the Philadelphia 76ers. What are you looking at tonight as a key to getting into this game and really competing with the Boston Celtics tonight?
So first and foremost, the glass, right? I think that's going to be a key to victory every single time we do a pregame show, you and I, for the Sixers team. You cannot allow, especially a team like Boston, man, like there's 2 ends of the spectrum, right? There's when you're the Sixers and you play, let's say the Orlando Magic, right? You cannot allow second chance opportunity after second chance opportunity and allow a bad team to stick around. It's the other end here. You cannot allow second chance after second chance to a great team like the Boston Celtics, who will bury you if given that many opportunities. So I think playing a clean game on the glass and in the turnover category is obviously huge in any type of matchup. I know you have a guy you're looking for to come out of the jump tonight, so I'm going to go a different direction. Looking at Tyrese Maxey off the bench tonight as one of my key players. Because he has struggled a little bit offensively. He started off this whole Maxey off the bench, Melton in the starting lineup thing, really was starting to take shape. And then over the last 3 or so, it's been a little sluggish from the Tyrese Maxey point of view. A game like tonight, I need that offense. I need that explosiveness off the bench on the road at TD Garden. So I'm looking for Tyrese Maxey to not only be explosive and bring energy offensively, but be efficient, right? Like knock down those floaters in the paint, get to the rim, knock down those threes. So I'm looking for an efficient Tyrese Maxey tonight.
And I think it's funny that you mentioned Tyrese Maxey, because I actually want to. And what's up, Abe? Thanks for checking in, man. Glad to see you doing okay. Maybe we'll see you at the Broad Street Parade next Thursday. But nonetheless, I wanted to get to this comment here really quick, and before we move on, and I forget about it. I've kind of switched sides on this, Dylan, and tell me if I'm crazy. I mean, I love Tyrese Maxey. I love Tyrese Maxey. I think his ceiling, we've talked about what his ceiling could possibly be. We've talked about Tyrese Maxey's character and what he provides to the Sixers as far as their future, but we're talking about Kevin Durant, and we're talking about arguably the MVP of the season so far, aside from his injury, right? An all-star starter. Got the all-star starter spot over Embiid. We're talking about Kevin Durant, one of the best players of all time. A guy that is playing out of his mind this season, right? He's playing up to that MVP caliber this season. How do you pass that up? He fills so many holes that the Sixers have, right? Wing defender. He plays defense. He's long as hell.
You can,
rebounder, shot blocker. I mean, he covers all the bases.
You could throw all that logic out the window. It's what I've told you for the last 2 years probably now. It's Kevin freaking Durant. So now to Chris's point, I'm not giving up Tyrese Maxey. And by the way, this trade isn't happening. This is just hypothetical. But I'm not giving up Tyrese Maxey tomorrow for 3 months of Kevin Durant. Right, I'm not giving up Tobias and then Durant go back to Brooklyn or go wherever. Right, I need that locked in. But if we're talking, what's the ultimate goal? What are you building towards? You're acting silly if you're trying to tell me you'd rather have Tyrese Maxey on this team this year than Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, James Harden equals championship. So
it's your best chance.
It's all hypothetical. It's not happening. I'm not doing it as a rental. But if you were telling me I get 2 years of Kevin Durant, 3 years of Kevin Durant, you're goddamn right I'm doing it.
And that's the key there, Dylan, because, and obviously once again hypothetical, but he is locked into that contract. It was talked about throughout the offseason how that 4-year extension he signed with Brooklyn.
Right.
There's a no trade clause, right? We would obviously have to honor that, but he's fully guaranteed that contract. He's locked into that contract, no options for the next couple of years, right? So I don't even think he would be able to walk if he agrees to being traded to Philly. But nonetheless, just wanted to point that out because it's kind of changed, right? And maybe it's just recency bias with the struggle that Maxey has been in. We have Abe's checking in.
But it shouldn't be
for an explosion.
It shouldn't be like
it shouldn't be, right?
3-4 slow games from Maxey should not. It should have just been everyone's answer always for the end from the beginning of time. If it's Kevin Durant for Tyrese Maxey, you do it. I know he's lovable. I know he's great, going to be great. I get it. You do it.
And I think the defensive liabilities that he's shown throughout as we've seen him evolve into the star within Philadelphia, that defensive liability thing turns into more of a thing, especially once you get to the playoffs. So that is another concern with Maxey, obviously, but nonetheless, let's slow it down, I guess, because I do love me some Maxey, and I love your point there tonight. I'll go to the other side of it because I think there's two guys that really, really need to step up that if they want to win this game tonight, right? And we're talking about keys of victory. I need James Harden to come in locked in offensively. I'm talking about offense here because he needs to do it from the tip off. It can't be one of those like second half explosions from James Harden or wait until the fourth quarter to close. It's been great watching him be the closer in those situations. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be able to do that tonight, but we're going to need it from the very beginning. We're going to need a full game of James Harden masterclass on the offensive end. The reason I say that, Boston always has a plan for Embiid. I know we're going to talk about Embiid. We haven't gotten to him yet. Boston always has a plan to frustrate Embiid, slow Embiid down, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, Tobias Harris, I mentioned that to you earlier. We were going through his props. It's like, he's going to be so locked in on defense. He's going to have so much responsibility defensively, rebounding, that I don't know if he's going to have a chance to really focus on offense and go off and help Embiid tonight.
Tobias is interesting tonight, man, because I agree with you. That's what I texted back to you earlier. He's going to have to work defensively on those wings and Tatum and Brown. But it's like, this is the definition of a night where I can't have 7-point Tobias Harris. I need help. Joel Embiid needs help. James Harden needs help. Listen, I'm not asking for 18 and work on defense. Can Toby give you 14 on efficient shooting? Can Toby give you 13 on efficient shooting? So Tobias Harris is definitely an X factor tonight of some sorts. But to go back to your James Harden point, I think it's great because how many times have I texted you? And it's not to take away from these late game takeover sessions, but what do Harden time? Here comes Harden. And it's awesome. Yeah. But in a matchup like tonight versus the best of the best, I need you to come out the gate ready to go because guess what? This isn't the Denver Nuggets where it's Embiid and Jokic and they really don't have a star number 2.
Yeah.
Boston's got bodies to throw at you, dude. Tatum, Brown, Brogdon just went for almost 35-40 the other night, right? So you need your stars to play a massive role out the jump tonight. So I agree with you, man. They're all going to have to
And I think to your point there, it's, you mentioned Maxey, and the reason I didn't put Maxey as mine is just because he has been so inconsistent. But to your point, that's more of a reason for him to step up tonight, right, and show signs that he's getting back to that consistent play that he was at. So and when you look at Harden, when you talk about a masterclass offensively being locked in, that's not just shooting the ball, right? That's not just scoring or driving to the lane and creating contact and, the pick and rolls. It's about the passing, right? It's about the facilitating. I don't want to see Harden lobbing a pass into Embiid from the 3-point line, and there's 3 guys around Embiid in the paint, and it's a turnover, right? We see those careless. He's a guy, don't get me wrong, he's a guy has endless basketball IQ. He has to be the smartest guy on the court, I'm convinced. But there's times where he gets lazy, and we cannot afford that tonight, right? And that's my biggest thing with Harden. And I think with Harden in that case, that can spark Tobias. That can spark Joel Embiid. That can spark Tyrese Maxey, DeAnthony Melton, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. So I do love that point. James Harden, he does it a lot of different ways. My other key to victory, kind of feeding off your last point there as well, containing Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And I say contain, I mean hold them to under like 60 points. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Contain them at as best as you can, because they are freaks. I mean, you mentioned it. This isn't a Denver Nuggets squad that has a 1-star and then, a couple like 3 borderline all-star guys, right? These are 2 legitimate superstars. Jaylen Brown, arguably, on a given night, can perform at a higher level than Jason Tatum can. He could put up
34 on any given night.
So you have to contain those 2. And along with containing those 2, I think you have to limit, and it feeds off your first key to victory, rebounding. You have to limit them to 1 possession, because those kickouts off offensive rebounds of Jason Tatum, those are knockdown threes every single time. Every game that I've watched of Boston this year, he has knocked. Anytime you get an offensive rebound, pass it out to Jason Tatum, it's knocked down every time. You cannot give him a second opportunity.
And these 2 guys are the definition of wings that give the Sixers issues. They are the body type. They are the athletic. They are the speed. They are the shooters. They are the embodiment of the player that the Sixers have issues defending. It's been that dude. It's been that way since they came. It's been that way since 2018, 2017. Remember playing them in the bubble, like talking to Gint. Gint was like, "Oh no, I think I'm like, who's guarding them to?" And they still really don't have an answer for it. Is it Tobias Harris tonight? DeAnthony Melton maybe too small, PJ Tucker too old, too slow. So it's going to be very interesting. I'll throw this key at you, but it's not really a key. It's just I want to gauge it. Changing the pace, and I mean that for momentum purposes. So the Sixers, I think, have multiple identities where you've seen them with Embiid. Obviously, what do you want to do? You want to slow the game down. 7 foot, 180 pound center. Get the ball to him. Let him work. Shot clock goes down. But without him, you've seen them be explosive in transition.
Yeah.
I want that tonight. Now, I'm not talking. I'm talking. I want the version of when Joel Embiid is out. I want that from the bench unit tonight. I want when Joel Embiid is in the game. When you have your chances, of course, you're going to run on a long rebound or whatever. But you slow the game down. You control the pace. You try to control the pace. Half court offense. When Embiid is off the floor, that's why I might throw Paul Reed out there tonight.
Yeah.
I'm running. I'm running. Melton, Shake, Maxey, Harden. I'm getting out in transition. I'm looking for my wings on the wings for threes. I'm running. I'm changing pace, and I'm trying to take away momentum from this Boston Celtics team.
Interesting, man. I'd actually just checked. Let me just check the date. Make sure this is correct. Just check the injury report. It looks like Robert Williams and Al Horford are out tonight.
Whoa.
Now, guys, if you're out there, if you have I'm just checking ESPN.com. It was questionable earlier. It's been updated to out on ESPN.com.
They're out, man. Yeah.
Horford, so
Gallinari,
that's huge.
Smart, and Williams.
That's huge. And you know, this takes me to my next point, because you're exactly right. You can operate at 2 different paces depending on which personnel is on the floor. You're 100% correct. I'm going to focus when Embiid is on the court, and what I want to see, like you said, I want to see Embiid slow it down. Yeah. Right? We talked about it, and we'll get into it with the goal of the game as well. We'll kind of dive into it a little bit deeper, but limit the turnovers, patience. It's time for Embiid to elevate, man. It's time for him to start playing it's time for him to start having these masterclass performances against the best teams in the NBA, right? He did it against the number 1 seed Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference last Saturday, right?
He did it against
He was
Milwaukee
able to get that W. Did it against Milwaukee this year, was able to get a W. It's time to do it against Boston. And I know that's asking a lot because Boston is a well-coached, very good defensive team, right?
It shouldn't be.
Not with those two out, right? Like, there's no matchup. It's going to be Luke Cornett. It's going to be Luke Cornett on Joel Embiid tonight. They're obviously going to throw some doubles, some triple teams at him, and that's why he has to slow down. He can eat all night if he does it patiently and doesn't let everybody get him flustered. So that's my next key. Just an Embiid masterclass. It's time to do it against Boston. We know the struggles that this team has had against the Boston Celtics in previous years, how they can get Embiid frustrated, and that's exactly what we want to avoid here.
Yeah, let's get into our goal of the game because I want to piggyback off of that key with Joel Embiid.
Start with goal.
How do I say this for the viewers that makes sense, right? We're not putting a numerical standpoint on this. We're not putting a stat on this.
Yeah.
Composure from Joel Embiid. That's our goal. And what do I mean by that? And a composed Joel Embiid equals that masterclass that Scotty's talking about.
Exactly.
So often when he's amped up for these primetime, star-studded, great teams that have had his number in the past a little bit, a la the Boston Celtics, he gets out of control. He lets the whistle dictate or the non-whistle dictate the game. He's got bad body language. He puts the ball on the floor through triple teams and turns the ball over, 5, 6, 7 turnovers. I can't have that tonight. I need you to be great tonight. I need you to be MVP Joel Embiid tonight. And the way you do that is by being composed out of the jump in front of that road crowd. Don't let the non-whistles, don't let the fans, don't let whatever they're throwing at you get to you. Play your game because the only person that can get Joel Embiid out of his groove is Joel Embiid. So if Embiid stays composed, he's going off tonight, dude.
This right here, man, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. That's exactly what you just dove into there. He has to be the alpha. He has to be the grown man in the room, right? We talk about Jalen Hurts and his leadership. Joel Embiid needs to show a little bit of that, right? Be composed tonight. Be patient. Don't, like you said, we saw it against Brooklyn in that Ben Simmons rematch. Finally, they finally squared off against each other.
So
really flustered in that game, right? Like just really amped up, aggressive, and that's fine. You can be aggressive,
but control.
You can't be out there dropping. Yeah, you have to be under control. You can't turn the ball over, lose rebounds out of bounds, right?
Missing
free
throws early.
Missing free throws. You're just too juiced up. He's got to be the grown man in the room, right? Jason Tatum is this guy that just went to the NBA Finals, has been to the Eastern Conference Finals several times. So there's a strong chance that he can act like the alpha, right? He knows what it feels like to win in the big moment. Embiid has to be that guy tonight. He has to be better than Tatum tonight, right? Like, in our eyes, like, honestly, Dylan, I know Tatum is having an MVP season. What do you think? I mean, is Embiid better than Jason Tatum? I know this is a conversation maybe for another day. At least tonight, Joel Embiid needs to be better than Jason Tatum. And every single time that they play the Celtics, he needs to be better than Jason Tatum if they want to win.
So Joel Embiid is better than Jason Tatum, flat out. And to Chris's point, the hypothetical, I wouldn't trade a healthy Joel Embiid for anybody. Like anybody. I just want it. Like that's just me personally. So yes, he's better than Jason Tatum, but he needs to act like it tonight for 40
It's a good way to put it.
Minutes.
Yep. That's where I'm at with it, man. That's where I'm at with it.
I think this is a great point by Abe here. That Jokic game, it's the epitome of what you and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Being under control. It has to be again tonight. Now, I know you're on the road, but
you saw both sides of it in that Denver game as well, because he still brought the energy, right? He still fired up the crowd. He still did the typical suck it sign to the crowd and all this. He gets amped up. He still can perform at a high level and still, do those antics. We love it. We love it. We just don't want to see it mixed with complaining to the ref and then not getting back on defense, falling on
That's
the
what I said to you earlier. He gets in those,
just can't have that.
Non-call on one end and then go down the other end and lower your shoulder into somebody in transition and get an offensive foul. No, I talked about this in the beginning of the show. No. Right now, absolutely not. Now, at the end of the season, if the Sixers don't escape the second round again, or, maybe they make the Eastern Conference Finals but lose in 5 and in large part due to Doc's rotation and flaws, then, yeah, it's time for Doc Rivers to go. But all the criticism on him right now after the great win streak they were just on is poor taste and poor timing for me. But
Yeah.
listen, man, we're over the half hour mark. We
Let's
got
get into predictions, man.
We got less than 30 minutes to go before tip off here. Well, it's ESPN, so I'm sure tip off will be like 3:45 or 3:45, 7:45. Predictions, and then we'll get into best bets. What do you got tonight with all these Celtics being out?
Yes, sir. So prediction for tonight, I'm going with the Sixers W. Even before I saw Al Horford and Robert Williams III out, I was going with the Sixers W. They're coming off a disappointing loss in New York to those New York Knicks that, quite honestly, they should have taken care of business, right? There was no Mitchell Robinson in that game, no RJ Barrett in that game. So that's a game the Sixers definitely should have taken care of. Along with that, I think this team wants this game. They should want this game more than Boston needs this game. They should need this game more than Boston needs it. For those reasons, right? You don't have Al Horford. You don't have Robert Williams on the other side. You do have a 2-game lead in the Eastern Conference. So I think looking at it at that from that perspective, the Sixers kind of need to win this game, right? I know it's on the road, so it's not going to be a huge loss as long as they keep it close, right? You can't get blown out. That's my biggest thing tonight. But this is a game the Sixers should win. They're down to 2 starting centers, right?
And no Marcus Smart, right?
You don't have 2 starting centers, but 2 of your centers that would start. No Marcus Smart tonight either. So you don't have a guy to guard James Harden or guard Tyrese Maxey, whoever you want to throw.
One of their leaders as well.
Would throw him on. And along with that, I just think, looking at it from the Sixers side of things, they have to prove to themselves that they can beat Boston, even if it is in the simplest form. And that would be with guys on Boston out. I know it's an undermanned Boston unit. That's even more reason that the Sixers have to win this game and defeat Boston Celtics in their mind, right? It's a mind game, some of this NBA. And the Boston Celtics have been the best team in the NBA. Anytime you can get a W over them, it's a good win, in my opinion.
Regardless of who
so my prediction, I'm going with the Sixers tonight. I think they take care of business. I do think it could get a little messy in a sense. Now, Boston, we're talking about 2 top 10 defenses in the NBA, top 5 defenses in the NBA, actually. So it could get mucked up a little bit. Is Embiid going to have his way? That's my biggest thing there. If he has his way, I think the Sixers could take care of this fairly. I don't want to say easy. I don't think anything's ever easy against Boston, but easier than what it normally would be. Obviously, no Rob Will, no Al Horford. My X factor in the game, and maybe I don't know where you're going with your X factor. I'm going to go with DeAnthony Melton here. I know we talked about Harden, we talked about Maxey. D Melt's just been that guy that kind of does the little things, right? Gets the rebounds, gets an assist here, steal there. But on top of that, he's been really hot from the 3-point line of late as well. So if he could hit some threes on the road tonight, that would be huge. And that could go for a George Niang. You could go down the line of other Sixers that need to show up big tonight. I'm going to go with D Melt. I have a feeling he's going to pop off tonight.
So you mentioned if Embiid can go off, and I'm really at the point now as we're talking this out, and we see
if is a wrong
at that position for the Celtics. It's not should he needs to go off at this point. You have to be the grown man on the floor. You have to be the alpha, as Abe said, and you have to be dominant tonight. With all those guys missing for Boston now, they still have Tatum and they still have Brown and they still have Brogdon. And all these guys, they're at home, primetime television, so they're going to show up, right? So it is going to be a grinded out type of game, but this is a game that the Sixers need to win. Listen, man, the Eagles are on a 2-week bye right now. We still have 4 or 5 days before we get to the Super Bowl. Philly fans are looking for something to talk about. They're looking for something to watch. They're craving something right now. If you're Doc Rivers, if you're Joel Embiid, if you're this team, and you're hearing the whispers and you're hearing what people have to say after one loss, after a bad loss, tonight's a perfect night to shut them up. Like, I don't care if they're missing 3-4 guys. So they're not missing Tatum and Brown, so I don't care at this point. Go out there, win this ball game. It does not have to be pretty. It can get ugly. It can get mucked up, as Scotty said. But I ultimately think that Joel Embiid dominates, and the Sixers win tonight. He's my X factor. I was going to go with James Harden because he has to play strong as well. But it starts and ends with 21, man. So I'm going with Joel Embiid. His over/under set at what, 31.5, 30.5. Scotty,
FanDuel moved it down to 30.5. Yeah, 30.5.
I think he goes for like 38 to 40 tonight.
I like it, honestly. I really do like that. I'm with you, man, on the Embiid train. And, I don't know. Just think about if the Sixers did lose this game and Al Horford and Robert Williams are out, right? Then what is everybody going to really be saying? You're going to be saying that the Sixers aren't on the same level as the Boston Celtics, as close as their records are. They can't even beat them with their 2 top centers out, right? And you have one of the best centers in the league. So, can we call this a must win? Like, this is a must win, right?
Yeah, no, I would say so.
Like, I'm not even being funny about the Super Bowl question. Like,
it's not Nick Sirianni and the Eagles must win, right? But in terms of because of listen, if Boston was fully healthy and you're on the road, I think you'd be nuts to call this a must win. But to know what you're up against, to know that they're missing 2, like, dude, it's Luke Cornett. Stop! Like, he should. Come on. Luke Cornett should have 4 fouls in 2 minutes. I'm joking. Like, I'm joking, but I'm not. Right. Yeah. So, I think that they show up. It might be a must-win in terms of just to make you feel even more optimistic. Not in terms of if they lose, I'm going to be down and out. But I do think so. I see you got the best bets pulled up, so let's get into them now, Scotty. We got 3 best bets for you guys within this game tonight. With that line, I don't know if the line has moved. I'll throw an extra one in. Sixers plus the points. I know they were plus 4.5 earlier. With those guys missing down low for Boston, I do like that. But our main 3, DeAnthony Melton threes over 1.5, I believe is at minus 125 or minus 130 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Joel Embiid over points. Smashes over 30.5, 31.5. I do not care. Smash the over Embiid points. And Harden assists. I think they're a little lower tonight, man. I think the last time I looked, they were 9.5 on DraftKings.
9.5. Yep.
So they were up around 11 or 12 2 weeks ago. They're down. He just needs double digits. I like Harden assists tonight. I think the Sixers tie. I think the Sixers cover. I think they win the game. And let's win some damn money.
Yes, sir. Sixers are plus 2.5, so still underdogs in this game nonetheless, even with those injuries marked out. Harden assists are still at 9.5, and I love that even more with Al Horford and Robert Williams out, right? Easy finishes for Embiid off those pick and roll passes. So I'm with you, man. Those seem like, I hate to say no brainers because it's been so rough of late. But these feel like no brainers for me, man. We've talked about all 3 of them. You talk about D-Melt, you talk about Embiid, you talk about Harden. There's no reason that these shouldn't hit tonight.
I'm with you.
You're gonna want to play for a tiebreaker for security. Yeah, I mean, when you're this close in the standings, man. Same with the Bucks. You're gonna want to make sure you have the tiebreaker over all of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, which is why this game is so important, right? So hopefully we get the Embiid masterclass that we're looking for. Hopefully we can cash some tickets tonight. Once again, best bets if you missed them. D-Melt over 1.5 threes around minus 120, 130. Embiid over 30.5 points around minus 120, 125. And then Harden over 9.5 assists around minus 130 to 135. So all of the props I love. And then of course, if you're riding the money line tonight or ride the points, whichever you prefer, because
yes, sir.
I think the Sixers win this game, man. But anything else before we get out of here, Dylan?
No, man, not much. Just in terms of DSM and shows, obviously we have trending in the AM. Tomorrow morning and Friday morning will be the last 2 before we get into Super Bowl weekend. As far as myself and Scotty, we recorded 2 episodes of Turf Talks with the Connors, Connor Miles and Connor Thomas. That will be releasing those on Friday afternoon. Scotty and I will be live on Turf Talk here on the DSM Media page tomorrow, talking Eagles, Chiefs as well. Going to be a little bit more fun of an episode. So Sunday, we're going to get nitty gritty, break down the game, no emotion. Tomorrow, we're going to do some roster breakdowns, most important players from both teams. A little bit of fun and entertaining stuff tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So, guys, be sure to tune in to DSM Media for the upcoming content the rest of this week and so on and so forth, of course. But more importantly, throughout this week, the Super Bowl week, the Eagles Super Bowl week, that is, you're going to want to turn those notifications on for DSM Media so you're updated every single time we go live. But for myself and my co-host here, Dylan, be sure to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. That's where you're going to find our link tree and links to all of our social media platforms. For DSM Media, that's going to be it for this episode of Sixers Pregame. Go Sixers. Get this W tonight against Boston. Like Abe said in the comments, this would build some great steam going into the weekend. Obviously, you have to beat the 2 New York teams, but this would build some great steam as we get closer to the Super Bowl. Guys, have a great rest of your night. Go Sixers. See you next time. Peace.
Go